Guys, hold on. Wait, one sec. Trying to get my drink right. You might want to get your blunt. This ain't for the weak at heart. I am a self-appointed spiritual guide. I am the king of soul. The king of soul music. I remember when they used to say music was devil worship. But then, they want to throw gospel music in your face and be like, this is the only music that's for God because it's pitching their agenda. And yeah, the Bible is a part of the agenda, but stick a pin in that. We'll come back. We'll go back to it. This is look, my conversations never really reach light. And when for those that they reach, it's meant to reach you. It's meant to reach you. But this is the Anunnaki talk, from my perspective, in my opinion, in my knowledge, my knowledge. But I'm one of those people, I see it for face value. Like when I was like 5 or maybe 6, like I woke up one day and I was like, I can't do this. Like none of my questions get answered. None of my actual questions get answered. Like in the people within the churches were like leading me in circles, and I went to sleep a lot in church, and I had like weird dreams, and I grew up like with weird dreams and stargazing a lot. Most of the time I'd be like, I'm not from this planet, and they'd be like, where you from? And I'd be like, I don't think I'm from this dimension. I think I somehow dropped in from a higher realm, like a higher realm, or I like vibrated in, or either I was wisped in from a higher realm. And as I got older, I started finding out more secrets about myself and my own DNA. And like I kept asking the creator of all, like, to just guide me down the right path. And this Anunnaki thing, this has been around for a minute. Most people be like, yo, Billy Carson just started talking about this shit, or you know Alan Watts had a segment about this, or Dolores Cannon, she capitalized on this and was letting everybody know about it. And of course, we got the Sumerian text, the doctrines left behind, which most people, if and you're in a certain crowd, then when you talk about, things like the Anunnaki and the Sumerians, even when you mention names like Yabel, which are also Sumerian in descent or Saxon in descent, however you want to say it, like, um, it's ancient talk. Like most people will be like, it's agnostics when you get into the Yabel and the Moshet, the Marduk. Like I told my cousins, I was telling some family members and some friends of mine that Marduk and Nimrod are one and the same. And like it's like key points in the Bible, in the Bible, that lets you know that the story was taken. It's a scripted story that was gathered and put together off of variations of other books, and it had to come to a collective agreement that these are the 52 or 53, however many books we have in our modern King James Bible. It was agreed upon alliance to convict to that edict. Like, and that's the one, that's the programming they chose. Like, but outside of that, your soul will resonate, and it'll start like making you feel some type of way, and it'll even challenge your faith, because you'll be like, okay, so we were created in the image of God, and most people have they keep on. That's why if you really want to understand it a little more, and don't be afraid to hit me or reach out to me and be like, yo, so help me out with this. Read the Secret Book of John, or the Apocrypha of John. It breaks it down. The Apocrypha of John actually is that juicy. It goes into what God is, or what the creator of all is. And it speaks of the creator of all as if you can't name God. You'll never be able to put a name on God, because God came before you. And the creator of all himself or itself is not God. It's greater than God. It will be greater than any title that anybody could appoint to it. That's why we say creator of all, the source, or the lights, the infinite purity, the purest source of all existence. And it doesn't even reside within this realm. Like, it's in this realm, or we're within its realm. We're in a realm within a realm within a realm, created from the creation of the Most High. Like, you go back to names like Barbello, which mean the power of God or representation. Most people don't even get into that. They're captivated, or they're lost with the aspect or the theory or principles of Sophia and Lilith. They don't make it all the way up to Barbello, that's one of the names that's in the Apocrypha of John. Barbello, that's the name, that's the first name that they mention, and they say that that's the first man step forth from the light, the reflection of God. Most people, they like, yo, what are you talking about? I'm talking about real live knowledge. I'm trying to tell you, like, yo, this shit is all really self-awareness. It's based on one being self-aware. aware of who they are. Like you woke up one day and you realized, oh, you're here, you're human. You had a higher awareness and you just knew how to do things. But most of us, we can't let that be what it is. We got to be like, oh, well, somebody taught us how to be blacksmiths, or somebody came down here and gave us knowledge on it. Well, when you get into it, when you're talking about the Watchers, or the sons of God, or those ones that came down, most people get into a perspective of Lucifer and who Lucifer is, like the first child. If you read the book, Lucifer can either be two characters: a character by the name of Alalu, which would be the first to fall or the first to descend. That's one of the first characters to come to Earth in Zechariah Sitchin's copy, or Zechariah Sitchin's version of the book. And in a lot of versions of the Enuma Elish, when you read the translated text, they mention a character named Alalu, who somehow broke free and was the first one who came to Earth. And he was also actually the king of Nibiru at one point. And him and Anu, which was the new king, or the king that defeated Alalu and caused Lalu to flee past the asteroid belt into the inner planets, or towards the inner planets, finding Earth and finding gold, which was the resource that they needed to actually fix their planet's atmosphere. They came down here. Now look, the Ajiji and the so-called Nibiruans are one and the same. You'd be like, we got a 1% class down here. We got a higher class, upper class, and a lower class. So you would say the Anunnaki are the upper class Nibiruans or Atlanteans, or however you want to say it, from another planet, people from a whole nother planet that came down here. And their origin is even more technical. It tells you about their origin, and most of them, if you pay attention to it, it's like a precedence. Like they were named after their origins, or they somehow named themselves after the origins, like Enki and Ea and Anu and Anubis and different things, like different names like that. Even getting into Marduk. But the Ajiji were stationed on the moon, like, and they were charged with doing the Anunnaki's labor work, and they were basically the lower class. They were the same one. They were even children and descendants that were considered the Ajiji class. It's like, yo, they were kids that wasn't a full bred species of some sort. It was all mixed breeds at that time as well within the Anunnaki pantheon. If you get into it, if you read it, and it tells you like about the Solarian, or all of that celestial stuff, that can sometimes you be like, yo, when they started conquering each other, Rome and Spain, each one started putting their twist on it, so, but the origin stories, and then most of them go back, and then you be like, yo, we don't even speak about the Orisha and the creator of all, and what the name Olodumare actually means. Stick a pin in it, boom, we're gonna come back to that name Olodumare. Okay, we're gonna come back to that and what that pertains to when it comes to the creator of all. We might not even come back into it in this live. You can tap, when you tap in, leave a discussion, and I'll leave a comment, Orisha, type hashtag it, or just comment the Orisha, and I get into it with my take, or my aspect, or my view on who and what we are as Orisha, being an ancestral being myself, or a being that's connected with his ancestors to a level myself. Because most of the time people be like, oh, you need to dream this shit. No, if you live it and you live alive and you can notice the omens, and I don't always notice the omens, but it's like I'm living the dream. So me dreaming is just like, no, because I don't sleep enough for that. I do what they call rest. And when you rest, it's like close to a reset, or just resting and resetting your energy and your frequency. So it's like you can go 7 days, but if you actually go to sleep, you fucked up. Like a rest is more of a nap than an actual sleep, slumber, or cycle where you sleep 6 to 8 hours. I count 4 hours to be like a little nap, or play, or wait for you to get rest. So a lot of times I set my alarm to wake me up at like 5:30 or 6:30, while I go to sleep at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I try to wake up completely refreshed off of just the rest. And I don't even say sleep. I say I take my rest. Like I rest around about 1 or 2, and I close my eyes. And if I'm not all the way in a restful state, then I kind of just allow myself the breathing process, and I pay attention to my breathing, and pretty soon I find myself in a restful state. Rest and sleep are not the same thing. Look, I mean, though, we all will sleep at one point. There's a greater level of sleep where you just don't wake up, and then there's the sleep to where your heart stops for a little bit while you're resting, and then you wake up and you might feel a little groggy, or either you feel like you're completely restored, or you've been reborn in your sleep somehow. But this is Anunnaki talk. So the characters like Anki and Enlil, Those are the ones who are God in a lot of aspects. And most people don't like when you talk about it, but it makes so much more sense because when you break down the Bible about what's going on in the Garden of Eden, and you got the serpent, and you're obviously realizing, okay, this might actually be two different individuals that are in control of something, and they are. Like, the truth of the matter is, the Garden of Eden existed, but it was a testing ground. It was like a laboratory with nice scenery, and it really wasn't even that. It was more like after they were finished with the product, once the product or the species of man were finished, they would bring it through the Eden. And the Eden was like a resting place, or like a neutral ground to discuss it or look at what we've made. Like, that's where it was, like the kingdom of where the actual gods, the Anunnaki, live. So Eden was probably in the Eridu. If you actually read the translations online, if you've ever looked them up, Eden is more than likely in the Eridu. And in fact, I think it says Eden was in the Eridu. And then you had the Apsu, which is basically like a variation of like hell in so many different ways. People would go there and work. Like, even the Anunnaki seemed to be going. I mean, even the GG seemed to be going through hell. And at first, I want you to know, when they first came, they only brought a few of Gigi with them. And at first, it was just the Anunnaki and a few lower class of Gigi. And most of the Anunnaki did most of the work. They were appointed. It's different jobs, like, Lord of, gutters and stuff like that. And they had to actually do that. They had to make gutters, and they had to make, ravines, and till the land and work the land. That's when the land was without void and without structure. And they actually had to bring structure. And you had Anki was actually, helping the process of life develop down here. When they say he made the birds and he made the beast, because he did experiments with certain creatures and certain genes down this way to create said beast, and actually brought beasts from his home planet and actually merged that with this ecosystem. Now, I'm not saying that he felt like he was playing God. He felt like he was just being in like a scientist, like he was just doing his just do, the ability that the Most High gave him. And when it's sense in the Most High and the Creator of all, even the Anunnaki, even Ankian and Lil actually would reference the Creator of all in a lot when they like were going over things that they should be doing, the rules that they should be following, the edicts that they should be actually going by, the decrees. So, and mainly I'm getting into this because this is 2026. Welcome to 2026. They're going to introduce aliens to you in a way that you always knew it was. Most people just realize, oh, I already know aliens are here, and da 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 da. But most people, they don't understand. It hasn't clicked in their mind the trickery these people have actually done on you. Like like I said this saying. I once watched a man turn an entire tribe of men, other men. I watched a normal man turn an entire tribe of men into sheep, like literally. And that goes over people's heads that I'm talking about the character Jesus Christ and what the Catholic Church did. They were that man that turned an entire tribe of men into sheep. Like, they basically showed you a magic trick of how they could take a lion and turn that lion into a sheep and get that sheep to do whatever they want to do. They could herd that sheep anywhere, and at any given time they could take that sheep and turn it into a mighty lion and sick it on you. It's as simple as them bringing Nigerians to fight the Cameroonian people when we were doing all of this conquering lands and conquests. I mean, mainly it's like, okay, you can do this to go back and break down who was already over here. If you pay attention to the fact that they were utilizing the entire globe, they wasn't just, and then they were utilizing the entire globe from the Pangeic era within, because everything was cool. Like, they were here, they came down here around the Pangeic era, and then when it was one continent, and then a cataclysmic event happened. This was something that wasn't the flood, and it wasn't a great war. It was like something happened and the land broke apart. They had to leave at that moment, and then they came back as the land was still settling and breaking apart on some land before time type of shit. If you wake up and you realize you're an old soul and you're a part of this coalition, that you've been here long enough to be a part of it, and you've actually lived lifetimes where that's what you was doing. You was in a GG, you was an Anunnaki member. That's what you was doing. You were doing things on that level. Like, they were just as abundant as us. You ask yourself, where does a culture or a species of people go? They become the very planet, or they become the very creation. So, in the Anunnaki, were basically the creators who became the very creation. It's a sense of being like at one point they were from Nibiru, but they came down to Earth and they created and had children. They had whole families born on Earth, which transitioned that. So those ones born on Earth were now Earth-born Nibiruan children, Earth-born Nibiru royalty. They were Earthlings. They were the first men and women down here. And when we get into the Anki and Enlil, now some of these higher ups like Ningashita and Nagashka, some of them didn't want, even Anu, like, I don't really want to create another being down there. It's like we're doing enough by taking the resources of this planet. We don't even know if that's good or bad. We're just trying to do it for the sake of our planet because we feel like we made it here. So maybe God wants us to do this. The creator wants us to do this. So they end up, coming in the character Anki, which is based off of Ea, the creator of all within the universe, the one who brought forth the other deities or had a lot going on, considered the father of all creation. There was also Tiamat, which was considered to be the mother of all creation. From her came all life, and then once life had ended or had been brought to an end by a character named Marduk, who had wrote himself in it. See, I read two variations. In one variation, there was another character, and in one, and really I read like three because there was this one translation where they used the name Yahweh is the great warrior that took down, or the great warrior that slayed Tiamat. And either way, it felt like, yo, did they just kill God or kill God's wife? That's how I looked at it. I was like, because this is like got to be a celestial battle at this moment. We're talking about a battle on the celestial scale to where these beings are beyond the very planets we look at and taking on a whole nother dimensional scale, like a whole nother dimension. Like they from a whole, it's a whole nother, like, imagine Earth having a body is a beautiful woman or a warrior, so in so many ways in her own, but there being an existence where she walks around through a garden, and within this garden or within this place of existence or this realm of existence, if you look closely within the buds of the flowers, you see Earth itself, you see planet Earth, you see, the species of man and what they're doing within that fruit, or within that item or that material. It's like, okay, boom, that's the scale of this shit. It's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from a realm where everything is that's already is just that great, a realm of beautiful, tremendous light and infinite possibilities is coming from creation. But that's not even, let's get out of that, put a pin in that. We can talk about that in a later segment. I'm approaching, my mark. I love talking about this stuff. This is me talking about the Most High, the creator of all. Granted, I'm one of them people. I'm not an atheist, but I don't. I'm not a believer in, a biblical aspect or a Muslim or any religious aspect. I'm not a believer in any of that. Like, though I do follow the way, and I know for a fact that there's a creator of all of this, like the creator, and I know that it's like, in a way, a collective scale, like one that begots something that begots something that begot something that comes from something even greater than the one that begot it. It's on some, you won't be able to understand God in your human form because God is just too complicated to understand in your human form. It just is what it is. But this Anunnaki stuff and the relation to the biblical, and why would a person, or why would one group of people want to use these doctrines to control anybody? And how we went from slavery, where they was basically whooping ass to get you to build stuff, to get you to build houses, to get you to farm the land. Most people don't even believe in the transatlantic slave trade or the East Atlantic slave trade. They like, yo, we were aboriginals and da 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 da. And I'm like, yo, no, it's more like we were the ones who taught the Indians how to do stuff. You're not understanding how deep this rabbit hole goes. Like, and we're ebonites. We're not black. We're more like a species of people that they don't want to let you know about. We're the original man. We're the origin of this shit. We're the ones that they did experiments on, while at the same time we were allotted time in the wilderness to become who we became, and we was gonna become that great either way. Like, Earth and the creator of all had his own plan. It was just a means. Everything has a means to an end, and everything has a means to a development. You feel me? So everything has a works to be in a development phase, and then once it gets into the development phase, it's under development. Like, we're humans, we're all in growth and development phase. Like, no matter what we do, we're always, it's a constant motion of growth. Everything moves forward. Nothing moves backwards. Nothing ages backwards. All right. So it's crazy because even down in Revelations, it starts taking stuff and you can start realizing that they made certain things up so it could be predictable. You got to understand, like this stuff didn't happen that long ago. Like the establishment of slavery was like 700 years ago, or it technically ended 700 years ago. So, and slavery has been going on because they were enslaving. We were enslaved from the get go. You had one Anunnaki member in Lil who want and a few others on his side that wanted us to worship them. So they programmed us to worship. They was like, yo, make sure that these beings worship us. Make sure I don't care about them being free. I don't care about how smart they are. I don't care about their potential. I need them to mine this gold. I need them to get these jobs done so we can save our planet. That type of stuff. On that regular real dude, you could tell we have that same type of sort of arrogance. Either you with us or you not. Level type of stuff. Like I be on that level with my music most of the time. Either you fuck with me or you don't. And that's how I be feeling. You rock with me or you don't. And yeah, it is what it is. You gotta take that how you take it. For the most part. And I was just really trying to get a good 20-minute segment out. You guys post in the comment, Anunnaki, Orisha, Most High, all praise, amen, whatever. If you want to hear me talk about this shit again, say keep going. And then in my next live, I'll talk about this. You know, this is how it goes. Interaction. You made it this far, man. You rocking with me. You understand it. You hear it. You got some ears. I just want to do my part so the people on my level are able to actually understand it. Because some people talk about this stuff, but I know most people can't understand it, and they're like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like I like it, and I understand it, but I just don't understand it. And I'm like, yo, you got to use the creators understand it. And they're like, you mean God? And I'm like, no, because God is something that we made up. The creator is something that was here way before. It's just something that it's us. It's our coming into being, coming into me, or coming into existence and acknowledgement of that existence. It's like realizing that these are not just things at tip of your other thing that's locked onto another thing. You realize these are fingers at the edge and the tip of your hands that are connected to your wrist, that are, have joints on the inside and go into your arm. That your arm is not just a thing. You realize that these are appendages that help you. You realize you got a thumb that can curve. You don't you now it's not just a piece of something, or it's not just a, hey, use these, you can actually say it. Use your hands. You can use the vibrations. It was a development. Self-awareness. I'm trying to self-awareness. What? How many times did that take? 3 times. Anyway, man, you guys stay up. I'm gonna end the live right here. Like I said, you guys like, share, subscribe, what you love. I got some new music coming. Check out the new video I just dropped. I'm about to drop a whole new video. It's like a rework of my character. Not even a rework of my character. It's just, it is what it is. I got merchandise up on my website. Y'all rock with your boy. Say it one more time. Welcome to 2026. It's January. That's just because I want to know later on in the year when I did this video, and if I watch it to the end or people watch it to the end, they'll be like, yeah, you dropped a video in January. You was talking about the Anunnaki, bro. I want to hear more about that shit. And then I can put y'all on game. Y'all stay up, man. Peace, love, man. I hope you're having an amazing year, and I hope it gets even better for you.